Hello, good evening. Let's see if anyone comes in. I'm just doing a roundup of the solar eclipse from yesterday, quite an adventure, and I'm also going to just edit my photos with you and show you my process because I got some questions about that, and I know a lot of people took photos and might want help with editing. So here I posted on my X feed a GoPro time lapse. And I used the settings GoPro recommended for that, and then I did a little bit of an edit in Premiere, which I'll show you. So the time lapse, I just used the settings that GoPro recommended I use. Not really how I liked it, but it looks cool. It looks made a cool video that it was really easy for me to post pretty quickly. Um, and like I was telling some people for the Eclipse, I don't know how to photograph. It's like that's not something that's in my back pocket to just to take pictures of. So I used resources that were available to figure out what settings to use because this is something that it's always going to essentially be the same for exposure and all that. It's already been figured out. So for GoPro, they had an article and they had the settings here, and that's what I used for this time lapse. And I did do a little bit of tweaking in Premiere. So let's see if I can show you that. Let's see if I move this. How do I do this now? There we go. Here. Okay, so what does that look like? You see it? Yeah, okay. So this is Premiere, and I just brought in the video here from the GoPro. And I'm not a video editor expert by any means. I kind of hack my way through it. And what I did here is I put it on 2 layers, and the bottom layer I applied a LUT to, and I really don't know what I'm doing when it comes to LUTs and that stuff. So I put another layer on top and just changed the opacity so that it would be like 50% of what it was doing. And then did my text overlays and stuff. And then I just grabbed some music from Epidemic Sound and put that in there. And I cut this up during totality. So this middle part is during totality. So if I left that at full speed, it would just be a couple, I think it was maybe 2 seconds of totality. So I put that at 50% to extend that during the time lapse. I could probably have done it even longer. I could definitely tweak this more to make it more interesting, but I just wanted to get something up, and this was pretty quick and simple way to do it. So that's how I did the video. And I have that posted on my X feed, and you can check it out there. I'll put it on Facebook and probably on my Instagram as well. And let's see. And if you guys, I can see the chat if you want to chat or have any questions or whatever. So let me remove that. The next thing I wanted to share was camera settings. Let's see. Let me bring back this screen. Yeah. Okay. So again, camera settings, I didn't know what the optimal settings for the sun were at all, just as the sun, and then let alone an eclipse. So I posted this a couple days before the eclipse, and this is what I used as my guide. It came from Rocky Mountain School of Photography, which is a great photo school with workshops that are awesome. I've done a couple workshops with them, actually many workshops with them, and spent a few months at their school back in 2016, I guess it was. And so they sent out this email, which was a great resource. I'm so happy I'm on their email list. And they did a video as well, but the cheat sheet here is what I used for my settings for the different parts of the eclipse. And I had 3 cameras, and I have them here. So we're going to go through each one. I mean, if you're bored tonight, you can spend some time with me as I go through this stuff. And I'm just going to share everything, because like my method and how I do things is not the way that it's, you know, there's all kinds of different ways to edit and go through your photos. This is just how I do it. But these are the settings I used. I had one camera set up with, which was this one. And this had the ND filters on it, didn't have the hood on. I had the ND filters stacked on here. And I actually used this handhold because you see I wish I could just highlight that, but the exposure guideline was 1,000th of a second, which I can easily handhold. And I'm just photographing a dot in the sky. In my mind, that doesn't need to be in the same exact spot every time. So the only reason I'd use a tripod for that shot would be if I wanted to do like a time lapse and not have to worry about where the sun is in the frame as it moves, because when you're hand holding, obviously it's never going to be in the same spot in the frame. So I just handheld it, and I'll do something with those images. They're not going to be in that perfect sequence of exactly where it's positioned in the sky for that photo. And I kind of made that decision before doing it. I thought about this stuff for a couple hours before it even started. I got there very early on Monday. And I thought about this a very long time about how to set up the cameras and what I wanted to do, because it is so limiting in a way what you can do. And so I just had to do the best I could with the tools I had. The next setting was for the diamond ring, which is right when the moon comes in front of the sky. Again, I don't know. This is just what I understand. I'm not an expert on this anyway at all. So please don't take what I say as expertise when it comes to photographing an eclipse, please. But I'm just going through what I did. So the diamond ring is this moment when the sun flares, I guess, off the corner of when the moon goes in front. And that has a very specific setting here. And that's a 60th of a second. And I did it with the camera with the stacked filters on it. I took the filters off for this shot and handheld it. But a 60th of a second, especially with this is a 135 millimeter lens, I know that I can't handhold that, okay, without it being all over the place. I'm just, I don't have that in me to be able to handhold 1/60th confidently. There are plenty of people that can, and they can do it and have no problems with it. And there will be thousands and tens of millions of people that will say, oh, you can handhold 1/60th of a second, no problem. I do it all the time. Look, I can't. That's just me. I drink a lot of coffee, so I can't do it. So I adjusted the exposure for that. And I'll show you these photos once we get to it. So if you're not into this technical stuff, you can tune out and come back later. I handheld it I upped my shutter speed to 1/250th, which I'm comfortable with. And I lowered my f-stop because I figured, why does it have to be f22? It's the sun is essentially infinity distance away. It's the only thing that needs to be in focus. So f-stop to me doesn't matter. Maybe that's a wrong assumption to make. but was my logic going forward. So I think I shot it. Well, I'll know my exact settings once we get into that for the diamond ring. If I even captured it, I have no idea. I literally haven't looked at any of these. I went through one on the back of the camera. I looked at a couple pictures, but that's it. And then totality, you can see they recommend bracketing manually, meaning stepping up and changing your exposure in increments from half a second to 8,000th of a second. So these are the two cameras I had on the tripod, each on their own tripod. So one is a wide angle 24 millimeter wide angle, and then one was my 50 millimeter. And you can see these are actually vintage lenses. I inherited these from my grandfather, and I've been using these and for landscape and nature photography, and they are just so sharp. They're sharper than any of my modern lenses. Even the Sigma, the beautiful art lens that this is. I mean, this is a beautiful lens. I absolutely love it, but I bought this for the purpose of portrait and wedding photography. So sharpness isn't necessarily like as crucial to me or critical, but for nature and landscape, I think sharpness is very critical and something that should be considered high. So these lenses are just so sharp and beautiful, and manual focus. So having a manual focus lens is actually a benefit for this kind of photography. You set it to your focus point, and then you don't touch anything. Using autofocus is when you it goes crazy because it has nothing to grab onto to set the focus. So that might have been a problem for some people. I know when I was doing just some quick pictures with my phone, the phone had a hard time focusing on the sun, even in totality. So that might have been a problem for people. So yeah, hindsight's 2020. I'm not really need to probably do this kind of comprehensive deep dive before. I'll do that in 22 years. We'll do it before next time. But I did share these guides on my X, and I was hoping that people would utilize them themselves, but I should have probably gone into it a little deeper dive. And so I bracketed with these two cameras and attempted to. Again, I had totality for 3.5 minutes, and I had the timer app that they recommend here, the Solar Eclipse timer app, which vocalizes for you. Totality begins in 30 seconds and counts it down and does that. Well, the app, I had my phone with it going and it was working fine. And then all of a sudden, when totality came, it didn't work. And it was very chaotic. So I didn't actually know exactly when it started. I mean, you can see it in the sky, but I've never experienced it before. So I didn't know, like, is this it? Or is this, how long is this going to last? When is it ending? Is it ending soon? So it was very chaotic in those 3.5 minutes. Incredibly beautiful, amazing experience. And the reason the app stopped working is because somehow during the chaos, the sound thing on the side, this little clicker thing on the side of the iPhone turned off. And I didn't realize for like a couple hours later, I was like, why isn't that app working? So that was a little blunder, but I think I did good. I think I got some good photos. And then after the eclipse, the process of it becoming fully visible again, the sun happens in reverse. So I did that entire process with the time lapse. For photographs, I did the entire beginning and a little bit after. I was extremely tired and packed up and everything at that point. So I have some for after. I didn't do the whole thing. I wasn't seeing myself as having, I don't know, the whole sequence. And because I was shooting handheld anyway for that process, that part of the stuff, I don't know. It just didn't seem important to me. It was kind of done, if you will. Let's see. Is anybody in here? Anyone want to say hi? I don't know. I'm supposed to be able to see comments, but I don't see them here. If you're commenting, I'm sorry, I can't see them. I was supposed to. I guess I can only see YouTube comments. Okay, yeah, I can't see Facebook or X comments. Oh, that's a bummer. So you can go to my YouTube if you really want to contact me at Kate Bly on YouTube, and throw some comments there. I'll see you. I have no one subscribed to my channel on YouTube, so I pretty much doubt anyone's on there. But if you have a question, get it in there and go to YouTube. Sorry. Okay. The next thing. Oh, okay. So Jess sent me a text. Hi. I got your text. So you can say hi. So you can text me if you have my number. I'll also answer questions via text message. So, all right. So the stories, I'll get into some stories real quick, and then I'm going to start photo editing. So the stories, I had a plan. It went great. I got up around 2 in the morning and left for Connecticut Lakes, way up in Pittsburgh. Let's see. Let me pull up the map here. So here's New Hampshire. I went as far north as you can, basically, in New Hampshire, up Route 3, all the way up to Pittsburgh. And I went, oh my God, what is going on? Okay. Went up to Pittsburgh here, and here, Lake Francis, and then these are the Connecticut lakes. These are the source of the Connecticut River. And all the way up, I went to here, which is third Connecticut Lake. I get this mixed up all the time. Here, third Connecticut Lake, and here is a boat launch. Let me pull up the satellite version. So here's a boat launch, and this is where I went. Now, this was covered in snow. They hadn't plowed this parking lot here. So there was there was probably a foot of snow out in the open because it had been warm and melted some. In the woods, the snow was much deeper. And people were parked along the side of the road when I arrived there at about 5:36 a.m. So there are already maybe 10 to 15 cars parked along the side here. So I was like, oh, geez, is there even room for me? I kind of found a way to pull my truck in and park on the side and took a quick nap. People, as soon as the sun came up, people were up and about and starting to set up their gear like at 8 in the morning. I'm like, geez, I don't know. I don't want to be setting up yet. But then I kind of got concerned because more people were showing up. I was like, okay, I better just claim my spot. And I set up a spot. Now I picked this spot because it's a southwest view looking over the lake, and there's mountains in the distance. And you'll see that in the photos. Because the eclipse was in the afternoon, this was a very good viewpoint for a clear look of the sky. Beautiful up there, very beautiful. And as the morning went on, more cars and more cars and more cars. The entire road, I mean, I don't know how far the cars went, but both sides of the road packed with cars. So there was a lot of people there, and you can see in the time lapse, if you didn't see it, the time lapse, so you can see this is the entire eclipse caught with the GoPro. Maybe I'll mute this so you guys don't have music. So there's a lot of people, and they went all around along the side of the lake. People were out on the lake. I wasn't gonna go out on the lake. I wasn't confident of it enough. But yeah, it was just tons of people. Amazing. I'm gonna post this on Facebook soon, either tomorrow or tonight. You can see totality there. All right. So that went great. Packed up after. People started leaving right away, right after totality. And then the photographers and the people who were there, probably in a more like advanced hobbyist, possibly professional capacity, who had, the scopes and the telescopes and professional setups. They hung out to the end, but most people left before or right after totality finished. And I hung out for a little bit, but then I left probably around 5, and everything was fine. This is the traffic. I mean, get ready for this story. Everything was fine going down Route 3. I mean, there's not going to be a lot of people who went up here relative, to everywhere else. And I think a lot of the people that came up here were staying in the area. So everything was fine here along Route 3. And then I got to just outside of Pittsburgh and hit my first batch of traffic. And the traffic was interesting because it wasn't just stop. It was very just a slow crawl. So it wasn't the kind of situation where we'd stop and I could go on my phone and update you guys or reply to comments or anything, or even read texts or anything. It was just a slow crawl the whole time. So I had my attention at the wheel like this entire time. It wasn't, you kind of think like, oh, that's actually better. But I mean, you kind of do want a break for a while. So there was traffic through Pittsburgh. And once I got through Pittsburgh, the traffic opened up and it wasn't bad. It was kind of funny. There were people who were actually like out sitting on their porches, waving and laughing at all the cars. It was, I thought that was funny. So traffic wasn't bad along Route 3. When you got into Stewartstown, what's the other town here? There was another town before Colebrook where I took the photo at the, let me go to my profile. I took the photo at the, here, the 45th parallel. So I stopped there because I had my vlog for the day. And I wanted to get that up on X at the very least. And so I stopped there for maybe half an hour or so and got that video and uploaded it. And you can see that on my X profile. Let's see, where is it? Should have been up here. Yeah, here in the middle of the night. So that's where I uploaded that. Well, I prepared the video and then I uploaded it as I was driving. It took probably an hour to actually upload it. So traffic was kind of on and off. But then once I got to Colebrook, that's where it became just traffic the whole time. Just outside of Colebrook. It didn't take too long to get through Colebrook, and there were periods where you could kind of speed up a little bit, but it was essentially bumper to bumper all the way down Route 3. This was bumper to bumper. Stratford, bumper to bumper. Northumberland, bumper to bumper. I mean, took forever. A couple of things I noticed. There were some cars that were broken down. They had their hoods up and stuff. And I saw two Mini Coopers dead on the side of the road. So I don't know anything about Mini Coopers, but that was an interesting observation. There was only, I think I saw 3 or 4 cars on the side of the road broken down from the traffic, and 2 of them were Mini Coopers. So I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. So by the time I get to here, it's nighttime, and bumper to bumper. What did I do? Where's the road I took? Okay. Bumper to bumper all the way, get to Lancaster, and there's the traffic circle. And I mean, at this point, I'm thinking like, okay, maybe I could just like park somewhere and sleep in my truck. All right, here's a comment. Jessica wants to know, what about Teslas? I would have loved to have had a Tesla in that traffic. I was kicking myself for not bringing my e-bike, because honestly, I would have parked my truck and ridden my e-bike home and probably gotten home quicker. Once I got to maybe Whitefield or something, I probably could have ridden my e-bike from there. Yeah, with the Tesla, I could have set it on auto and, gotten a lot of work done probably in this traffic. But once I got to Lancaster, I was like, okay, maybe I should just use Waze to try and try and get. Okay, so I can see Facebook comments now. Okay, that's good. So I can see your comments. um, I put on Waze once I kind of got to Lancaster and was hoping it would find a way. I don't know what anything. And it put me on Route 135, which I wasn't super familiar with, but I was going to give it a shot. And so I went that way. It took me to Dalton, and then all the way down to Littleton. And that road, I didn't have traffic. So I did make it pretty good time there. And I do want to say what was an interesting observation about the traffic. The people who were in traffic during the eclipse were actually, I think it was like a self-selecting crowd of really nice people that wanted to go see the eclipse. Like there were not any aggressive drivers. And I'm not joking. Like the entire people were in traffic for 5, 6, 7 hours, and they were not aggressive drivers. Nobody was screaming down the breakdown lanes. No one was passing, in unsafe ways or anything like that. It was pretty amazing in that way. So there wasn't a lot of road rage suffered by me, and it was just frustrating. By the end, when I was getting very tired, I was getting very frustrated, but this was just kind of like, okay, this is my life, accepting it. Once I got to Littleton, this is where all this traffic, now if we look at the map in New Hampshire, all the traffic from up here is all getting funneled down Franconia Notch. So you can see there's not many options here. You're either, you're going towards the Conway or you're going towards, Vermont border. So, but if you're going down southern New Hampshire or Massachusetts, this is the main route through Franconia Notch here. And that's where I was heading because I live down south of Franconia Notch. And this is where the gridlock on the highway. I made it through Littleton, and then once I got to the Bethlehem exit, Waze was telling me to get off of there, and I could see the highway was completely, no, it had me get off the highway in Littleton, the last exit in Littleton. So, but that was where 93 was backed up, was to Littleton from Franconia Notch. Okay. So this is Interstate 93. Franconia Notch is right here. So the traffic was backed up all the way to Littleton, bumper to bumper. Now it was that slow crawl, but it was stacked. And so I got off the highway, and it took me on the route here that goes along the highway. And this was bumper to bumper as well, but rolling. And I was like, well, I'd rather be stuck in traffic, not on the highway. I feel like that's safer. So I stayed on there, and then I got to Sugar Hill, and I'm thinking, oh, I could, I'm starting to realize all this is going through Franconia Notch, and that's one lane. So that's another thing about Franconia Notch, is one lane going through. All the traffic has to go down to one lane to get through there. And I'm like, that's not gonna change. So it started routing some people ways through Sugar Hill, but then still coming back around to this side of Franconia Notch. But I know Route 116 kind of goes along the back side of it. So I went back roads through Sugar Hill, and then came down 116, and that was free and clear. There was just a flow of cars, but we were moving. And then once I got to the height of land of Franconia Notch, Kinsman Notch, I hit traffic again. And now this is at hour 7 of being in the car. I was so tired. I mean, this is like 11:30 midnight. I'm stuck here. I'm getting very close to where my home at this point. And I'm thinking, do I just pull over and go to sleep here and just deal with it in the morning, or try rest for a couple hours? It was so bad. And getting so tired, you start seeing like things in the shadows, and just not fun. But this crawled all the way down. And then, of course, once you get to Woodstock, Lincoln area here, the highway opens up from one lane and goes to 2-lane or 4-lane highway here. So that part of the highway can never get filled enough. Like it's impossible from just one lane. So once the cars hit here, it just was moving and there was no traffic issues south of Franconia Notch. So I made it home around 12:30 after waking up at 2 a.m. in the morning that day. I mean, epic, just unbelievable. So I survived. I made it. All right. So that's the whole story. There's nothing really else to add. I'm going to go ahead into editing some photos. So if you want to join me on that, I'm going to start with, I think I'll just start with this camera had a handheld with the filters on it for the partial eclipses. So we can take a look at those first. So I use the CF cards. This camera has CF and SD card holder. So I put the RAWs on the CF card because it's a faster processing card, and the SD has backup for JPEGs. If for some reason this gets corrupted, I do have backup. And I'm going to, let me eject the GoPro card here real quick. Okay. And put this in card reader. And we'll go into, now I use Capture One for my photo editing. And you can, I know no one uses this program. Most people use Lightroom, which there's nothing wrong with Lightroom. I just don't use it. I just don't use it. So you can use Lightroom and do a lot of the same things that I'm going to be doing. Let me switch screens here. Go. Okay, phone's going off. Sorry about that. I'll turn the sound off. Okay. All right, so this is the import screen that comes up when I insert my card and I have Capture One open. It just automatically opens this. And I have, here are the pictures. These are the pictures. So it's just a dot, right? And we have to zoom in to see the change. And you can see totality there. Oh, that looks so cool. So what I did for settings, we'll go through this, but I bracketed these, even though I didn't have to. I bracketed these. So each photo, I took 3 photos of. And the exposure is 1 too dark, 1 exact, and 1 too bright. And then that gives you, that's a technique to give you full range of detail in the shadows all the way through to the highlights. And you can combine those photos by stacking them and getting all the details. So that's one technique that landscape photographers use to get, like at sunset, you get the beautiful detail in the sky as well as detail in the foreground. Anyone who's photographed sunset with their phone or just regular camera, taking one picture, you'll either have the sky completely washed out or you'll have the foreground in shadow. You know, it's hard to get that all, just that whole spectrum. So that's what the bracketing is for. Now I'm importing these. I'm going to add these to the catalog I have made. No, did I make a catalog? Let's go back. Let's cancel. I didn't make a catalog. So let me share that part of the screen here. So you can see now these are, I was doing a photo book for Becca's tattoos. So that's why that's here. So I'm going to create a new catalog. Just trying to get the window sized right. Here we go. Okay, and I think in Lightroom it's similar to this, but I'm going to create a new group, which will be, I'll probably call this Solar Eclipse, make its own special group. And then in that, I will do a project. This will be what we can call this like the partial and totality. I'm just trying to describe it because I'm going to separate these ones, the ones that are just the sun, separate folder basically from the ones that are the other cameras, which are kind of, it has the foreground, like it's the whole scene. So I'm going to do that. And then inside of that, I make an album, which is the images. Now, this is just how I do it. Everyone has their own workflow. So I select that images. Now I can do import, and here they are. Add to import, add to catalog. I don't want to do anything here. Format image name. I can just keep it as the image name. Copyright. I'm going to add my name and 20, and then I always add some metadata. Solar eclipse in okay, and pick all, import all. Okay, hold on, I did something wrong. Import to. No, I don't want to import to the catalog. Excuse me. I want to put these in a folder. No, do you guys see? You don't see the pop-up here, but I'm just putting them in an external hard drive. So I'm importing off of the card into an external hard drive because I don't want to keep raw files on my computer. That'll bog down your computer very quickly. So I have a folder I already created here for the raw images. So I'm going to set that as the import folder. There we go, import to that. Okay, job name, we don't need to have a job name. Oh, and the adjustments, I want to make sure that the auto adjustments are off. I sometimes do that for other things, but these I don't want to have any adjustments done. So I'm going to do import all. There we go. And now they start rolling in. And so I took 137 pictures throughout the eclipse with this camera. And we can look at one. So there we go. That's the sun. It's pretty cool. And I had a 6-stop ND filter and a 4-stop ND filter on top of the lens. So basically blocking out 10 stops of light for a camera. So that's a lot. I mean, that's hard to look through. So we can, as this loads, I can see these. So you can see one's dark, one's middle, one's bright of each photo. And I handheld so the sun jumps around. But I can, so here we can start to see a bite of the sun being taken out. There we go. It just takes a second to render these. So you can start to see a bite coming out of the sun there. You can zoom in. Let's see. How cool is that? And oh, that is just so cool. So I'll be able to take these and make a time lapse with them lined up. Because it's such a sharp, defined image, it'll be easy to line these up manually. Normally for something like this, I would use a tripod and then I wouldn't have to worry about it. I would probably even put it on a tripod, have it pointed where I want it to be in the sky, and set the auto timer to just shoot the interval timer for me. But I only had 2 tripods, so I felt like this I could sacrifice over the others. Because the others, it was that those settings were so varied, and I wanted to make sure that that framing of the photo stayed the same. So look at this. Oh my God, this is so cool. These came out really cool. And again, this is zoomed in. So this is, you know, this whole scene of the frame of the camera, right? Because I'm using a 135 millimeter lens for this shot. If I had used a 50 millimeter lens, it would be even smaller, and we'll see that in those other photos when I import them. But because this is a nice sharp lens, I can zoom in. This is 100% here. So that's pretty, needs to load. This doesn't look, here we go. You can see how sharp that is. And here you can see my settings. So let's see. This is dark, middle, bright. So the middle, ISO 100, 1/3000th, 1/3000th of a second, and f5.6. And that was following the guidance of that cheat sheet. And Jess says she used solar glasses to try. Did you try putting those over the lens of your camera? That would probably work, actually. It probably came out better than, without it. So because that's probably pretty similar amount of light it blocks, like the solar glasses, which I should have thought of, because I could have bought some of those, and that would have probably, the solar glasses probably would have fit. Like I could cut it out and have it over the GoPro lens. That would probably have been perfect, actually. So that's something to think about again next time this happens, which isn't going to be for a while. But let's skip ahead, get to what we want to see. Look at that. Oh my God, it's just so freaking cool. Zoom out. And here now I'm starting to panic, like, because it's getting close to totality here. And I'm like, this is when you have to change your settings on your camera. And it all happens so quickly. There it goes. Wow, look at that. And see, I think that is the diamond ring. Do you think that's what that is? That notch or that flare? I don't know why it's purple. If it's just the white balance. I think I had this set on auto white balance, so the white balance could be off. It's supposed to be daylight white balance. So let's fix that. So I can go to my adjustment panel here. And because this is a raw NEF file, I can change the white balance. And this would be there's some panel in Lightroom where you'll see a white balance. And we go to the Kelvin and we have the presets. So I can set this to sunny is probably the accurate, or I think we want it for daylight is 6,500. So let's see what that is. Yeah, that looks, that's what they all said was have daylight 6,400. So this purple could be my lens. Chromatic aberration. I wonder if we can fix that in one of these panels. There is chromatic aberration. So I can, this is one of the cool features of Capture One is they have profiles for the lenses for fixing distortion and chromatic aberration and stuff like this. It's not perfect, but it helps. We're zooming in quite a bit here. I'm at 327%. So that is pixelated at this. So if I back it up to 100%, this is more realistic. Like if I was going to print it, I mean, look at that. That is just so cool. It kind of looked like this, like looking at it with my eyes, but it kind of didn't also. It was hard to describe. It was like nothing I've ever seen before. So let me pick my lens. I think they have it in here. Okay, and purple fringing. You can see if it takes care of it. So it kind of does. Right, okay. And my eyes are doing weird things just staring at this because it's weird. Okay, so I'm going to apply that white balance, that 6,500 white balance to all my photos. So I have this one here that I already adjusted to the daylight white balance. And I just do Command A, it selects all the photos, and then I can hold down the Shift key and this arrow, which is what applies the settings to everything. So I hit that, and then it applies the adjustments to all the photos. So now I'm going to be at the right white balance for everything. So it's that easy in this program. I'm pretty sure you can do that in Lightroom too, some way to adjust to everything. But if you did solar eclipse photos, that's the white balance you want to use, 6500. So you can do that to all your photos, and that'll get the color as close to realistic as possible. So let's look at these. Wow, how cool. And these are bracketed as well. So my exposure changed here. So I did do 1/60th handheld. I did break my own rules. So I have 1/250th at f8 ISO 100. So the settings that I was given was f22 1/60th of a second ISO 100. So I made that adjustment so I could photograph this at 1/250th and handhold it comfortably. But I did bracket it, so it did do it at 1/125th of a second and 1/60th of a second, which is too bright for this, and that's because I'm at f8. So this is the correct exposure here for the scene. And I wonder if we can see any of the stars or planets. It's just not enough light coming in for that. So these are so freaking cool. Oh, I got some more comments here. Oh, I captured the solar flare. Oh, is that what that purplish stuff is? Solar flare? No way. That's cool. Awesome. So what I'll do is I'm going to go through these and pick one that looks the coolest, because I mean each picture is going to be a little bit different, like just says with the solar flare. I'll look into that. I'll find out. I haven't looked at anything. I haven't looked at anything. I've barely been online today. I slept till 2. My friend Jess texted me this morning, and she's in the chat, and I said she was bugging me about where all the stuff, and I'm like, I'm dead. I'm dead. So I had this terrible headache. I woke up with the worst headache I've ever had. I felt like I drank a bottle of Patron or something the night before. Like I felt terrible. So I got up and I took a Tylenol PM and went back to sleep, and I woke up at 2. Oh my God, it was amazing. I woke up feeling great. Oh, these all look so amazing. I almost like it better, like a little bit zoomed out. Like it's just, I kind of like that. But my eyes are doing weird things staring at this. I don't think I could work on these photos for very long. I might have to be in a dark room, actually. That might help. So anyway, so I got lots of pictures of totality. And that looks like, I guess that's the diamond there. That looks like something that would be like a diamond, or maybe that's like a solar flare. Because this is towards the end of totality. So I'll have to look up that info about the solar flare, like when it happened. And it looks like there's something over here as well on the right side. Yeah, oh, look at that. Okay, so here I was playing around with my exposure. I went a little nuts with it. This is 1/6000th of a second. So this is where I went into panic mode and just tried everything. And sometimes that kind of stuff. Wow, look at that. What is going on? The sun has a nipple or something. Look at that. So that might be, that kind of looks to me like a solar flare if I had to guess. Yeah, so I just went into panic mode and then just was doing every shutter speed. And then here, look at that. Okay, so this was shot. Let's see if I can look at the info panel on this for the time. Time. Oh, I don't know if this camera, the time was set on it. Where's the time? Here. No, the time looks right. Okay. So 3:30 and 55 seconds p.m. This one. This is 3:33, 22 seconds. Okay, so I photographed with handheld, the beginning of totality, and then I went to these cameras and did a bunch of pictures. So that's the 3 minutes or 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. Yeah. Okay. So interesting. So these ones were all from the very beginning of totality, because I had this in my hand and I was shooting like a mad person. And then after, we have the very faint crescent. And so I did photograph for a while with this. I think I packed up everything except for this until here. And looks like there's a sunspot visible there. That's cool. All right. So that's those. I'll go through and pick one or two, or maybe I think this would be cool to do with a time lapse, these photos. So that'll take me a little bit of work, and I'm not going to drag everyone through that process unless, people want to see that. But the next, what I'm going to do is the next camera. So I'm going to make another project inside, and I'm going to call this the scene, like wide shots, I guess. Wide photos. I don't know. And an album inside called Images. Okay. Select that. And then I'm going to eject my card. Here we go. And this one was shot with the D800 that I never used. And I mentioned that I had this camera and I bought it many years ago for a third camera as a backup for when I was doing weddings. And then I used it a couple times. I didn't like it. So I've just had it and I haven't used it. So this was an opportunity. I'm glad I had an extra camera. So this is the 24. Let's do the 50 millimeter next. So we're zoomed in close, and then we're going to back up a little bit. And I did format these cards, so nothing's going to pop up on the screen that I'm worried about. All right. Now let me share the import screen. Okay. Yeah, this is perfect. I need to share this import screen with you guys. It's hilarious. Okay. Okay, so here I took a bunch of photos by accident. So that happens, right? Looks like that's a picture starting there. Looks like one that I attempted. And then this is during totality. And I don't know why these are all crooked or what's going on. It doesn't even look like it's in the frame. Oh, no, it is. See, this is how tiny it is. So 50 millimeter is a representation of, I need to check the box. Oh my God. Just let me select all these. Okay. I can't, there we go. I don't know. I don't want that one. Okay. So I'm just gonna, all the settings, all this stuff is good because I did that for the first import. So I'm gonna import these. So I don't know what I was thinking when I set this up. It's not even straight. I guess I didn't It was very stressful, this whole thing. And I didn't straighten the framing. Why didn't I do that? Who knows? There was a lot. It's just so much. And I mean, as much as I wanted someone else there with me, like I would have on the drive home, I was like, oh my God, I wish I had someone with me just to split up the driving. But when I was there, I was in my own little bubble by myself. I didn't even talk to anybody. I really would have loved to have talked to people that were there, but I was just so focused on this. It was so much going on. It took a lot of my brain power. So even with all my attention on this, I still didn't straighten my camera sitting on a tripod for the horizon. All right, this is almost done loading here. Can we even see it? There we go. There it is. So that's how tiny it is on a 50mm lens. And you can see down here at the bottom, my settings, it won't show the f-stop because it's a manual lens. It doesn't tell you. It doesn't, the computer can't read it because it's manually done. It's actually in the lens. The diopter changes in the lens, which is super cool. And this doesn't have like a computer to connect to. I know the screen is black. Okay, let me, yeah, sorry. I forgot to share the screen. Sorry, thank you. Here, you can see it now. Sorry about that. Okay, so my crooked photos, they're all crooked. And then here is the sun. Let's zoom in on it during totality. So this is a half-second exposure. So you can kind of see it. And then I just adjusted the exposure, I think in half steps. And now you can't see anything. These higher. Okay, so let's zoom in here on something like this. Yeah, these don't really work, do they? It's unfortunate. But I think it's still pretty cool. The scene. I really wanted to capture the scene with the eclipse. And that was kind of what I was trying to do here. So it's still pretty interesting. I don't know. How do I save this? I'll have to think about it. But you see, look, I know what I'm doing to some extent. And I'm far from perfect, right? But I do like this, the scene of the people. Let me straighten it. This drives me insane. The crooked. I just updated the software, so I actually don't know where anything is. Here, maybe? Rotation. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. I mean, I like this. I do like this. It needs a little bit of editing to touch it up. So maybe I'll do that. So for this, I want to make sure again that the white balance is 6,500. So we get what it actually looked like. And probably would just, this is a tough one. I might bring the shadows down, see even less detail in the shadows. So these are kind of like in silhouette. And then in that case, I would just bring the exposure up slightly. Something like that. It still doesn't look straight to me. I really try to make things level in camera when I have the time, especially landscape, because this stuff is one of my pet peeves for photography, is the horizon straight. Okay. And contrast. Well, I probably wouldn't touch the contrast. I'd go into levels or curves and just bring this down. And actually, I'll go into curves. It's definitely easier. Okay, in curves. And what I would do, actually, I'll do this the right way. I'm going to add a new layer. I don't know if they have layers in Lightroom, but this is an adjustment layer. So I can do adjustments to this layer, and then I can bring back the opacity. Because what I like to do when editing is I kind of take stuff to the extreme, and then I can dial it in by adjusting the opacity of the layer. Right? So for example, on this layer, I have it selected, so I could bump up the exposure. Oh, it's not showing anything because the layer's empty. We just do fill mask. Okay, so I bumped up the exposure a crazy amount, something like that. There's actually a lot of detail here, which is kind of cool. So that's pretty neat. I mean, just look, this lens is so sharp. It's just crazy. And then I can bring the opacity back on this layer and really dial it in where I want it exactly. So that's like a technique I like to do for adjustments. And I don't know if that is something that is in Lightroom. I would assume that there's a way to do that. So what I'd recommend is, if you want to try a technique like that, is to look up on a YouTube video, Lightroom tutorials for layers. So for example, I would go into my curves on this new adjustment layer, and I would do the extreme curves. So we bring the highlights to the very, so this line symbolizes all the data throughout the spectrum from shadows to highlights. So beyond this highlight here, there's no data. So all this is just fog or whatever you want to call it, just making it darker. This isn't adding any data to the photo. I don't really know how to explain it, but the data kind of ends here. There's like a little bit here, but not much. So me increasing that or moving that line to here, I'm not stripping any data from the photo. And here the shadows, the black point, pure black. So this represents pure white. And then this represents pure black, this end of it, is going right up against it, meaning that there's stuff in this photo that is pure black. So if I move this at all, you'll start to lose detail immediately. So it depends. Do I want some of the detail in the foreground of the, in the hills? Or do I want it just to be all silhouette? So that's like a aesthetic decision I have to make. I think it's pretty cool that there's actually shadow detail. But I don't know if that really takes away from the image or adds to the image. So that's like an artistic thing I have to think about, because what is the image about? I think this image is about, maybe it's not about the trees and this, maybe it's about the people standing there looking at this, and having detail in these trees will distract the eye, the viewer of the image. It kind of brings you here instead of where I want you to be, which is looking at these people kind of, and then being like, oh, what are they looking at? And they're looking at this dot in the sky. So personally, I would probably ditch all that detail in the trees because I think it's distracting, even though I think it's pretty cool that it's there. I hate to, because I'm removing data from the photo by bringing that line in. See, so that's how curves work. And then I can adjust midpoint, which would be middle gray. I can make it brighter, or I can make it darker by just moving it left or right. See, and I can fine tune everywhere in between. So typically when adjusting curves, you would do a C curve of some kind, which would be something like this, or an S curve where you have one low here and then one high here, right? So you kind of, it changes. So I could do this high and this low. And that's like a basic S curve. It's a little bit different for this because this is just such a unique scenario. Like kind of all the typical editing tool tricks and things you do with photos kind of goes out the window, you know, because like, is that really better than that? I mean, it's a little bit better, but I don't know. This is going to take a little bit of time, but I do like this. I do like this a lot. And even though the white balance is 6,500, which is accurate, like this looks like it looked, you know, it kind of had that blue shadow. My taste is different. So I might actually warm it up. And to me, when I was there, it was more like this. It was like sunset with the blue, little bit of blue. And I might even add some purple. So the tint is like a magenta, red, and green spectrum. And the Kelvin color temperature is a orange, yellow, and blue spectrum that you kind of adjust. So to me, that looks more like I remember it. Oh, I'm on the adjustment layer, so I shouldn't have done that. I'm going to bring that back and do the adjustments on the bottom image. That's why it was fighting. I was fighting it. Okay. Something like that. All right. And then on the adjustment layer, in the curves, I can do an S curve to bump up the contrast. And see, now we're getting somewhere because the color to me was off. And you can actually see something here, the guy's phone. It's kind of cool. All right. And so here, now that this, because I did these adjustments on the adjustment layer, I can decrease the opacity and bring it down to where I want to go. And it looks like I have a spot, lens spot. Fear not. We have a tool for that. Where is it? Move dust. Okay, and then I do this, it's gone. And what's cool about, one of my favorite things about Capture One is I have that dust spot. I know that's on every photo in the same spot, right? So I have to find it, the tool with the spot. Where is it? Anyway, there's a tool, a spot. I can probably find it. Floating tool. What do they call it? Healing. Spot removal. Oh, I did just update this program a couple months ago, so it's different than dust removal. Here we go. Oh, this is a totally different tool. Okay, never mind. All right, I'll do that at another time. But basically, I can, that dust spot that I removed, I can apply that to every photo in a click. I just have to remember how to do it. But anyway, so this is probably the best one out of this whole camera. And that's the reality, you know, like I took 27 pictures during totality with this camera, not a lot of images. I got one that I think is cool and represents the scene pretty good. So I'll be tweaking that a little bit more and I'll put that one out. But let's do my last camera, which is the wide angle. And this one, it's going to be even a smaller dot. We're probably not going to see much, but we'll get more of the scene of people. So I'm just curious how that looks. So I'm just going to eject that card. All right. Oh, oops. That's the 50. So I want the wide angle. Okay. All right, I'm just going to import those real quick without changing the screen, because this one's even fewer images. It's 12. Oh shoot. I didn't import these into the catalog. I wonder if I can drag them in. All right, I did that wrong. So just, whoa, look at this. Whoa. Now that is so interesting how it's so more visible on this lens. It's a wider angle. Oh my gosh, this is cool. And we can see a planet. Look at that. Look how sharp this lens is. I mean, this is why I fell in love with these lenses, these old lenses. That's at 200% on a wide angle. That's insane. That's so, oh my God, this looks so cool. Oh my God, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with this. This is exactly what I was trying to do with the people. And this whole area was perfect for this type of shot because I was kind of up on an embankment, up on the road, and everyone was kind of down below me. So I was able to like be kind of have a higher perspective over things. Oh, you like it, Tess? Yay. Thank you. Yeah, this is exactly like, this makes it all worth it. Like, I really like the pictures I got of just the sun with this camera, you know, the dot in the sky and all that, which was really cool. And I think that's going to make a super cool like time lapse. But this is the shot I kind of had in my head. And when you're able to pull that off, there's nothing better. And of course, looking at this, I'm like, oh, I should have done this and done that. But I am so happy with this. And then this is on a tripod, right? So I can stack these. Look at that. What is going on in this picture? Holy crap. Now this represents what it was like there. Like where you're looking at it and you're like, what is going on? There is nothing in this world you can compare to seeing this. You're just kind of like, I can't even describe it, but this is kind of getting close to like what it was like, not the shape of it and this flare or anything, but just as like, this is like spooky and just crazy. So this must be right when the sun is, or the moon is coming away. This must be very tail end of totality. Now let's see, let's check the metadata. If my time, yeah, my clock's off. If there's one thing you can learn in life as a photographer, if you have multiple cameras, make sure you set the time on each camera before you start shooting so that they're all synced at the same time. I never do it, and every time I kick myself after. That is so cool. So I can, and there's still people, you can still see people in here. I mean, look at that. That is crazy. And I did all kinds of exposures with this. Where is it? I can't find it now. There it is. Look at that. That is insane. I wish I had the clock right on that. That's not the right time. But I'm pretty sure this is right at the end. It happened so quick. Or maybe this is right at the beginning. This might be at the begin. No, because this is backwards. I'm going backwards. No, okay, so this is, I'm trying to understand what I'm doing. I guess that's right at the beginning. I must have picked up this camera or taken the shots with this camera. See, if I had synced my clock, I'd know exactly the sequence. I guess it doesn't matter, but this is so freaking cool. I'm obsessed with that. Let's edit this one or this one. Which one? This one or this one? 1 or 2? Which one should I edit? Oh, hey, Justin from Northern Vermont. We're playing disc golf. Oh, wow. Holy shit. Dude, that's cool. That is so cool. Did you get stuck in traffic? Zoom in. Okay. I don't know if there's a lag or not on the stream. Okay, so we can edit this one or this one. 1 or 2. I don't know. That's so cool. This one's cool too. An hour north of Burlington. Wow. Yeah. So you were there. Saw it. Dude, this was the coolest thing ever. Okay. So we'll do number 2. This one. Okay. All right. So first adjustment we want to do is the white balance. So the auto white balance was on in the camera. And so that's what this is in mode shot. What basically it's what the camera told it to be. We should start at 6,500 as a baseline. That's the daylight color temperature. And to me, just from observation, this looks pretty good. It's got more of that yellow in the sky. Though, I don't know, it wasn't kind of like looking at it, it was like a white. It was very spooky. Very spooky. Oh, good. You stayed with John up there in Vermont. Smart. You maybe missed the beginning of the stream, but I did my whole story about the trip, and it took me 7 hours to get from the Connecticut Lakes up in northern New Hampshire and Pittsburgh to where I'm at, just south of Lincoln. So, yeah, it was crazy. It was insane. Craziest thing I've ever, craziest traffic I've ever been in by far. All right. So the white balance we got, and there are auto adjustments I can do in Capture One, just like in Lightroom. So the magic wand will do an auto adjustment, and we can tell just by looking at that, that's not good. It's too bright, right? But I'll probably do something like that, kind of. So for the first things I do is just very subtle changes, and then I can kind of get more aggressive as I progress. But I'm going to start with that as the exposure. And then we'll go to highlights. I want to just play around with the highlights and see how much data I can get. So if I lower the highlights all the way down, you can see there's more detail in the horizon. And it's so cool that there were just like this little bit of wispy clouds that came in right at that time. It was like crystal clear blue sky pretty much all morning and an afternoon. And then these wispy clouds came in, which is great because it just adds more to the picture. It would be kind of boring without anything there, I think. And we can zoom in here and see what the highlights does. It brings back a little bit, but that's pure white right there around the moon. And then shadows we can kind of play with to see. I think we want to keep it pretty dark and moody in my tastes. So the white point I might even bring back, because we want this, we want to think about where, when we're looking at the picture, where our eye is going to go. And for me, it's important that your eye goes here, obviously. So that I want that to be the brightest part of the image, because that will always draw your eye first. And because it has to be the brightest part of the image, because it is literally. So that's why I don't really want to have the rest of the image too bright. And it also kind of sets the mood. And the white point is fine. We don't want to touch that. Black point, we could even lower a little bit, because I want the mountains here in complete darkness, and the people don't need much detail. Clarity and dehaze, those things I kind of do at the end. I kind of get my photo where I want it to be, and then these other things I do at the end if I need them. I won't do levels, but I will do curves here, and I'll just do a very basic. So I'll bring in the highlight to where the last bit of highlight data is. And then here we have this shadow data, and I can bring that in, and I think I might just leave that. And in the middle, the midtones, I might brighten a little bit, but not too much. So I can do an S curve like this. Just kind of, you just do very subtle tweaks. And then here I can see the white balance isn't quite what I want. So I will probably remove the tint. I feel like this is kind of purple at the bottom. There's like this purple going on. So I'm just going to remove that with the tint. And this is just very subtle stuff. I feel like I'm losing, I lost something in the curves. What did I do? I'm going to reset it. Okay, so I have to keep my eye on the sun because I don't want to lose that little bit of detail. And I think that's what's going on here. So I'm actually going to just leave that and do any kind of adjustments here from the middle. And what I can do is do on a separate layer, edit this part of the image where the sun is separately from the rest of it, which I think is probably what I'll have to do to get it to where I want it. You know, sometimes it's these ones with, you know, it's not a sweeping landscape with tons of detail and mountains and clouds and all kinds of things. These ones where there's not much going on in it really to edit, but for some reason it's like harder to do because it's all about the solar event, but then I do want to have these people as part of the image to kind of bring you there, like you're standing there looking at it. So I'm going to have to think about this. typically how I like to edit is I just don't touch anything for probably a week or so after I take a picture, which doesn't help, especially if it's something timely like an eclipse. But I do like to sit with things for a while and then come back to them. But I am going to finish these couple of images so I can post something. I feel like I need to post something. Okay, skyline got too white and pulled my eye from the middle of the photo. Yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. I'm going to have to do probably an adjustment layer. I'm going to do empty adjustment layer. And what I'm going to have to do is a gradient on it. So I'm just pressing M so I can see the mask. And then I'm going to do a gradient mask here, gradient mask. And then I can never remember. Yeah, so this is the mask. Something like, maybe even less, something like that. And then hide the mask. And then here I can just edit the bottom part of this photo. See, I don't know, there's like something with the color that's off to me. And these guys need to be more in silhouette, I think. But it's tough because it's all in shadow. So I might need to do the curves for just this section. Something like that. There. So your eyes kind of, these people bring your attention, and then you want to figure out what they're looking at and look up. And it kind of, your eye goes. But because this is in shadow, so it has like that purplish look to, I don't know if it comes through on the stream. But I would actually probably just take the saturation out of it, to be honest, because this is just snow, and then these people are in silhouette. There's no need for color. So something like that. Or I could do it the right way and go into the color panel here and adjust the hue and play around with that. But probably just the saturation, maybe the hue a little bit. It's hard to see like the difference changes I'm doing. So that's why I do it on an adjustment layer as well. So I can always take it back. Like I can adjust the opacity of this. So this was the original and this is the changes I made. So it's like, it's hard to remember, but this is what it looked like before I did any changes. And then the changes, it's like totally different, right? And if I'm like, well, if I'm looking at these two turning off and on, and be like, well, that's a little intense. Maybe I do want to just scale it back to something like that. You know, so you can kind of, once you do it on a layer, that's what's really cool about it. So maybe something like that is the best version of that. But no, I kind of want to, this is tough because it's all in shadow. So any tweaks I make really tweaks everything. If I'm even adjusting just the black point, is adjusting this color of the snow, which is crazy because it's like snow should not be affected by this. But there we go. And I can even tweak it here in the curves more. Okay. Before and after, and then maybe just drop it down to like 75% or something like that. There we go. So that's pretty cool. Now the sunset, I want to Now that I've made those tweaks on that section, now I'll play around with the white balance because I feel like it needs to be tweaked. I don't know. I need to sit with these images for longer. But this is so cool. I'm so happy I got this shot. This was exactly what I was looking for. Exactly. And I might actually really suck the saturation out of that more. And then I can tweak this. All right. And then go back in and add more contrast. I don't know. I don't know if that's better or not. I probably should do all this stuff on adjustment layers so that I can turn them off and on easier. I mean, I can reset it. Yeah. I think that's cool. Something like that. Okay, so I'm pretty much there. This lens is a wide angle lens and it doesn't have much distortion. I do feel like the scene's a little bit crooked. Does anyone else feel that way? I feel like it's a little bit crooked. Yeah. That fix it? Yeah, that's better. Now, how do we all feel about this tree on the right? Is that okay? It doesn't bother me. I think it's okay. Normally, I don't like stuff on the edge of the frame. It was so bright when I was setting up the camera on the tripod. I couldn't see what I was even taking a picture of. I was just trying to get it level and make sure I had everything in the scene I wanted, like the foreground and the eclipse. So I would have either put in more of that tree, probably is what I should have done. Just turn the camera a little bit so that more of that tree is in it. Or depending on what's on the left side, move it so that that wasn't in the picture. Yeah, kind of adds depth. Yeah, I don't hate it. It's not distracting to me. The only time I wouldn't like it is if it was just, it would take your eye from the scene. But I think it adds a triangle shape. Actually, if you put these three things makes a triangle. So triangle's always good in art. Let's see. And then I can see if there is any lens distortion on this. So I can find a 24 millimeter lens here. And I can just see if there's distortion. A little bit, but that's not fixing it. Yeah, see, it's making more distortion. So yeah, this is what you can tell about great lenses is around the edges. So a wide angle lens, like I have a 24 millimeter lens, a modern one. I take a picture like this, the corners, the side of the edge of the earth curves, right? That's not the earth, that's your lens making it distorted that way. And this doesn't have that. It's pretty much a straight line, just very slightly. And that could even be the curve of the lake. So I'm always looking for that kind of thing. You can see a little bit of the distortion in the people here because they look like they're kind of leaning a little bit, you know, because they're at the edge of the lens. But it's not bad. I don't think that they look extremely distorted. Like it's not super distracting. See, that's just adding more distortion. So that's good. That doesn't bother me. All right, so I think this is pretty good. What else do I want to do to it? I could add a filter of some kind. So I would do a new adjustment layer, new filled adjustment layer. And I can go to my styles that I have here. And I could just play around and see if anything looks good. You know, and these are, again, an extreme. So this is why I add them to a new layer, because I can look at the extreme and then dial it back. So a lot of these is color grading, you know, and it's a little much, right? Most of these. The film ones are usually pretty good. They give it a cool look. I really almost wanted to photograph with film yesterday, but I couldn't get it together. That's kind of good. That looks kind of good. Makes it more blue. I don't know, but it's doing something. And that's sometimes what I like to play around with the filters is because it's doing something that I'm not going to think of. Because there's so many adjustments I can do. There's like all these different panels and adjustments. And like, I don't necessarily know what's going to make this better. I know somewhat, but I like to use these adjustments, and it can help me sometimes when I look at this and I'm like, oh, maybe it is a little too purple. Maybe I do need to add some blue to it. You know, that's like in this filter, it kind of adds blue, which looks better, in my opinion. So what I can do now that I liked, which one was it? 6. So I liked 6, FL6. So I go back to my adjustment, and how do I do it? Here. I go apply adjustment from film 6, and then we apply it partially. I got a little alert, and it applies pretty much everything except for film grain, which is great because I don't want the film grain. And then I can adjust the opacity of it. So none, and then add it back. I don't know, that I like that. More of a blue. Oh, copy the tree and put it on the other. Okay, I could do that. I don't know. I like the balance. It creates that triangle shape. Okay, I like the colors. All right, now I have to look for my dust spots. So I'm going to go back to my basic layer and make sure there's no dust spots. I cleaned everything pretty good, but they're usually on the sensor. So it's hard to clean that. And this looks like a big one right here. Yep, that's a big one. So I use the spot, and I think that's as big as it'll go. Did it take care of it? Yep, looks pretty good. I think it's too big for, let me put another one there. This is a quick fix. I could always go into Photoshop and heal it, but I think that's good. Yeah, I can't see it now. Let's see, are there any others? The sky is always the worst offender for these spots, but it looks pretty clean. surprisingly. There's another planet there or something, or a plane. All right, that looks pretty good. Now, one other thing we can try is cropping this different. Because I'm looking at this and maybe a square crop would look good. So let's try. Is that better? Something like that, putting it in the third. It's kind of cool. I could be sold on a square crop on this. Or 4x5 or 5x4. Oh, I know what I have to do. I have to do this. Why won't you work? Why don't you work? It won't let me do it. Why won't it let me do it? Oh my goodness. I hate updating programs because then now I don't know what to do. Yeah, that works. Why doesn't the left bottom right one work? What am I doing wrong? What did I do different that worked a second ago? Oh, okay. Oh my God. Okay. All right. Okay. I don't know. I kind of like that square. No? She says no. Horizontal. Okay. But now I messed up the cropping tool. Like, I don't know how to fix it. I think there's a bug or something with it. Like, it won't let me fill the stupid screen with my crop. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Okay. Okay. It's going to crop it now. I don't want it cropped. All right. Let me go to this. I think I can undo it. There we go. It's still cropped for some reason. I don't know. There's something with the update. I can't. Can I reset it? I thought I just reset it. I don't know. I'll have to figure out what happened. Anyway, so that way is better. I don't know. I feel like it's a horizontal image or vertical image. I'm going to mess this up again. I really feel like it's a vertical. I really like that. What do you think, Jess? Are you still watching? I like that. You don't like the square. What about the vertical? I don't know. I like that. It's okay. You can cook dinner. Yeah. I like it too. I think it gets rid of the distraction, the voided white space or blank space. And I think this will, I'm thinking too, if I post it on Instagram or something. Yeah, better balance. Yeah. Because I think this is why I was struggling with the edit, because I think this is a vertical image. So this is going to be what I post. So I'm going to just zoom in here and make sure everything looks good. That is just so cool. And the flare on it. Oh, man, unreal. Vertical wins. Yeah, I agree. That flare on that is just awesome. So do you think I can get this on WMUR? All right. So this is looking, I think, how I want it. What else? I think this is how I want it. I think I'm going to post it like this. So what I do now is I go to export, which is here. Okay, it's a new window, so I have to just share the screen so you can see the export. No, I wouldn't sharpen it. It's pretty sharp. Like, let me share it with you so I can explain why. Let me get this back. So this is how we'll view it on the screen as a full image, and it'll be on a phone. Most people will view this on a phone. So I wish I could zoom out more, because in reality, it's going to be, you know, something like that. So I don't think I would sharpen it, because if I was going to like crop the image here, which I could do, then I would go in here and maybe sharpen it. But this is pretty sharp. It's just pixelated. But look at that moon. I mean, that's freaking sharp. I mean, this lens is from like 1970 or whatever. This glass is amazing. Amazing. If I took this with my modern lens, it would look different. I wish I had like 6 cameras and I could do a comparison so you could tell the difference. No, I think that looks great. I like the effect, this flare effect. And I feel like too, if I sharpened it, it would almost look fake, because it kind of already looks fake. And I think if that's heightened even more, it might look even more fake. But that is just incredible. What an incredible effect. Unreal. Okay, export. Let me share that screen. Export. Is this export? Is that the right screen? Yeah. No. It's not the right screen. It's very hard to do this and figure out the right. There. That's the correct screen. All right, so these are my export settings. Now I'm exporting for showing people online. This is not exporting for print. That's different. So I'm just exporting this optimized for sharing on Instagram or wherever I want to post. And also to avoid people stealing it and printing it. Now with modern technology, it's very easy for someone to do that now. Even if you do export it at a lower quality, you know, someone can still steal it and upscale it pretty easy with the technology, but you just want to make it like less easy, I guess. And something like this, I may post it, and I may actually put it up for sale as a print and have a link to purchase the print if someone wants to buy the print. Okay. Where am I? Oh, here we go. Okay, so sorry, I got distracted there. That must look super weird when I get distracted. All right, so exporting. sRGB color profile. If, again, in Lightroom, it's going to look different, but you probably have the same type of choices you can make. So color profile, sRGB, that's the most universal. Folder, I'm going to choose my folder here on my hard drive. Oh, actually, I can save it on my, do you guys see my folder pop up? No. Oh, you do. Okay. I'm going to put it on the hard drive. That's just Becca's tattoo art, because I did a photo book for her. Images, and I'm just going to save it here. And I'm just going to do the file name for now, or image name. Format, JPEG. Quality, there's no need to do 100%. You can do 90, or I think on like Lightroom, it would be 1 to 10. So you can do like 8 or 9. Resolution, 72. 300 would be for printing. And then scale, I'm going to pick the long edge, so long edge is when you're exporting a bunch of images. Some might be vertical, some might be horizontal. So I want them to be uniform. So I pick for the long edge 1850, and that's a good default for sharing on social media. And then that gives us a fairly small file size, which is good for dealing with putting it on our phone, for example. It doesn't take up a bunch of space, but still has really nice quality. And oh yeah, it'd be good on Canvas. Canvas would be good, but the problem with Canvas for something like this is the texture on it, which I usually love that texture, but because this is so, like, the details on this are very small, I would want to have a smooth paper. Read above comments. Oh, Ivan, I'm going to seal it and do a shitty wall print. Okay, so yes. I read. Yes, that's exactly right. So yes, you can do that and it won't look good. And I just explained why. Oh, I'm such a psycho. Okay. That's good, and I'm going to export. So, all right, that's it. I'm going to wrap this up, and I'm going to post these. Thanks for joining me, Jess. Have a wonderful dinner. I can make myself big. And anyone else who's lurking out there, I got some hearts and likes. Thanks so much. Anyone have any questions or anything when it comes to editing their own photos that they took? Do you want me to edit a shitty one so you can have some ideas? Or I probably shouldn't swear on the live stream. Or anyone who missed my story earlier, want to hear it? I woke up at 2 p.m. today, so I'm not tired. I fell asleep like at 1, woke up at 7, and then took a Tylenol PM, and then woke up at 2. All right, it's dinner time. Go have dinner. Jeez, it's late. Do you have to work tomorrow? Jeez. All right. Thanks, everyone who tuned in. I can't wait to see what pictures you came up with. I haven't been online. I'm going to see what everyone posted. So have an awesome night. Thanks for joining me. Bye, guys.